conversations with other business owners even today and yesterday. The next anti-firearms law to come out, I'm ready to move to a state that actually values gun owners and business owners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Miserel. I'm the Director of Security for the North Brunswick Township School District. I'm also a retired Detective Captain Miserel of the North Brunswick Township Police Department. I get kind of a unique experience or perspective on school security, having been both in law enforcement and now on the school security side. I'm fortunate that I get to meet with the directors of security from other school districts surrounding North Brunswick. I'm here to talk to you tonight about 4 basic themes that constantly pop up in our meetings. The first is crime prevention through environmental design. Unfortunately, our schools have not been designed to meet the threats that we face today. If I could urge any better use of our taxes would be give the school districts permission to go up the cap so that they can institute environmental designs to their buildings. The second area that I'd like to speak to you about is we've heard an awful lot about arming various people for our schools. One program we're seriously considering in North Brunswick is what we call the RPO program. We'd like to utilize retired police officers who have gained a tremendous skill set over 25 to 30 years to help with access control and help with school security. The decision to arm them or not is already in place. It's under New Jersey Statute 2C 395E, which gives the superintendent the permission to arm them. I believe that that decision should be exclusively at a local level. If a district decides to go that way, the mechanism is there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. May I have following come forward? Allison Deek, Michael Pora, Mandy Perlmutter, Alton Drake. Yes, sir.
I'm Jerry Murphy, and I've never owned a gun. But I'm here to stress this issue kind of in a historical context, which I'm sure is going to be part of your deliberation. The fact that this is a Second Amendment right, and that should not be weighed without great pain and deliberation, and in a historical context. And that we have great historians in this state that we have access to, and I'm sure you call upon. But a reading of history says that great tyrants take away guns as the first thing they do. Last century, uniformly, the Nazis, the communists, the fascists, they took power, took away guns. And we know that, and we're not talking about taking away guns entirely. All I'm asking you to do is anticipate the consequences of what might happen 50 years from now. When the English settlers moved to this country, 150 years before the Revolution, they never thought they'd be taking up arms against the British king. So all I'm saying is that we can't say what's going to happen from our actions today 50 years from now. And the Founding Fathers who wrote that into the Constitution did it at a time when guns were prevalent and were used to overthrow the king and could be used to overthrow them. Yet they wrote in the Declaration of Independence that you have a right and a duty to take up arms to overthrow the tyrant. So please take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having this panel today, and I want to just thank the governor for looking at this issue holistically and as a result of proper policy analysis where we're looking at all the issues, all the interrelated issues. I really respect and appreciate that. I just want to read a little bit about something I wrote in the paper. I'm no stranger to gun violence. When I was 20, my first cousin committed suicide and shot himself with his father's gun. A few years later, my other first cousin, his sister, suffered from complications resulting from that and ended up dying a few years later. My poor aunt is 88 and she's buried both her children. Has to be a parent's nightmare. So I've been dealing with this sort of issue my whole life. My first cousin that died was like a sister to me. And of course, when Colorado happened and then Newtown happened, and under being that I was in public office during that time, I was very sensitive to the issue. So I have many questions, and they mostly resolve around the mental health. But I would love it if this panel could give us some answers. Why would anyone want to kill innocent children? What was going through the gunman's mind that he would shoot his own mother? Why didn't the mother know it was coming? If she truly was about to commit him, didn't she know that she should have the support or the backup to give her protection? Was the mother then living in denial? Was she mentally ill? What did the mother do or say that made the gunman snap? Why didn't the mother know her son was potentially dangerous? Why didn't she get the support she needed before the tragedy manifested itself publicly? And why didn't she get the protection? What was the mother's mental health situation? Why is there a stigma in getting professional help when you need it? If the mother knew she had a troubled son, why was she hoarding guns and stockpiling ammunition in the first place and teaching her son the sport of guns? Why was the mother teaching him, a troubled son, a dangerous sport if in fact he was potentially dangerous? Where was the father?
Just ask you to sum up, please.
Where was the father or the brother? And why do we say 26 people died when 28 people died?
Thank you.
So if we're truly to make recommendations, I won't repeat anything that's said, but please don't exonerate this gunman by using his name. Please refer to him as the Newtown gunman. Study the root cause of the problem. When formulating public policy, please make effective policy, not emotional policy. And consider Connecticut.
If I may just ask you to sum up, please.
Consider that Connecticut eliminated their county form of government, and maybe that had some impact into how their laws are enforced there. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and I'd like to begin by thanking you for your service. Those of us who've served on boards and commissions know what your commitment involves, and we appreciate it very much. You might think I'm here as a parent concerned about the effect of gun violence on my daughter, for example, and I am concerned. But the primary reason I'm here today is to make sure that she is able to continue to enjoy the constitutional rights that her forebears fought for in the American Revolution. Now, when I heard about the many bills being introduced, I did what every good American citizen should do. I wrote my legislator, Shirley K. Turner, and she graciously wrote me a 2-page letter back explaining all of her views on violence and guns in general. And in that letter, she reiterated her support for the federal assault weapons ban. And she says, the adoption of a federal ban would have little effect on law-abiding New Jersey gun owners. May I see by show of hands how many people in this room know that that's not true?
Sir, I would just ask that you direct your comments to the panel.
That's fine. That's fine. My point is that in a rush to
Also sum up, please.
in a rush to legislate, because after all, that's what legislators do, many do not understand the significance and effect of their own bills, much less those of others. This approach will do nothing to deter crime, and in some cases will make instant felons out of otherwise law-abiding gun owners. I hope you will take Governor Christie's comments about violence in our society, which I have here, to heart, and take a hard look at addressing the human reasons for violence in our society rather than focusing on knee-jerk legislative reactions. And since I'm out of time, I have 10 constructive.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Malcolm Drake. I'm just going to bore you to death. But I have 6 children. I moved here from out of state in 2008 and then realized your gun laws, right, from where I came from and where I grew up. And it's a lot more stringent. So I think you need to consider the Castle Doctrine. I think you need to vote to get these people out of this legislature. Because in this state alone, it was, you know, Washington, you remember that guy? This state fought a lot of battles for our freedom. And unfortunately, we've forgotten that for some reason. And I think we need to be considerate, right, of the views of the people in here. But right now, these legislators right now that we voted in, they seem to be not considering our views. And that is sort of an offense to us. But I want to stay in this state. I married a woman from this state who complained for 32 years why we didn't come back here, right? So I just want to tell you, I appreciate being here, but I felt more safer in the other state because I got carried. I just want you to know that.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, sir.
My name is Brian Haggerty, and most of my
views have been expressed. What I'd like to do, first of all, is remind the panel that there is something called the Second Amendment. It comes right after the first one, and it's to ensure all our other rights that were endowed to us by our Creator, not by any government, not by any panel, not by any judge or jury. That was given to us by God. And the pastor here, I think he left, has the most important room in the job, most important job in the room. It's a moral decay of our society that's causing these things, as well as many people mentioned here, mental illness. I have a mentally ill daughter. I read the side effects of the medications that these psychiatrists give her. Can cause suicidal thoughts, can cause homicidal thoughts. You're talking about clinically insane, depressed, or bipolar, or whatever people are given medications that make them crazier. Now, as everybody reiterated in here, everybody in here is a law-abiding citizen. They went through all the intrusive laws and background checks that shouldn't even be there according to our Constitution, because it said these rights shall not be infringed. And every one of those 43 bills being proposed is an infringement upon our Second Amendment right. Now, I want to be able to have the right to defend my son, to defend my daughter, to defend my wife, to defend my property, to defend my home from somebody who wishes to do them ill. And I would implore the troopers that are in the room here to remember the oath that you swore to uphold and defend the Constitution. And I implore you to look up a group called Oath Keepers. Some of you may be there. Listen, I'll sum up.
Yeah, thank you.
Look them up. They're retired and active military and police. And there are rules that they will not enforce, laws they will not enforce, or orders they will not enforce. I implore you to look them up. Bottom line is, I am here to stand up for my right to defend myself and my family. And I do it legally, but you know what, in this state, if I did exercise that right, I would be considered a criminal.
Thank you, sir. If you could just sum up. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, now I ask John Gaspich, Joseph Rouleau, Chris Gardner, Chris DeGrotte, and Robert Baruch, B-A-R-U-S-H, to come forward.